There's a moment every man knows. Late at night, quiet room, phone in your hand. You're not texting her, but you're checking her story, her posts, her last scene, looking for a sign she still cares, looking for proof you still matter. Let me break it to you, brother. That's not love, that's not strength. That's a man bleeding out in silence. She's moved on, she's out there living, and here you are, stuck in a prison you built with your own mind. This is where weak men stay forever, but you didn't come this far to stay broken. It's time to stop watching her life and start building yours, right now. This isn't a video for men chasing validation. This isn't about getting her back. This isn't about decoding mixed signals. This is about power, your power. This is for men who are done living on emotional crumbs. Men who are done reacting. Men who are ready to lead themselves with clarity, calm, and control. Today, I'm breaking down 3 clear signs that a woman is still thinking about you, but more importantly, how a grounded man responds, not by chasing, not by folding, but by standing firm in his purpose. Drop this in the comments like you mean it. I protect my peace, because a man who protects his peace protects his future. Number 1, hot and cold behavior isn't confusion. It's control. She's not confused, man. Don't lie to yourself. She knows exactly what she's doing. This hot and cold shit, this sudden flood of attention followed by radio silence, it's not by accident. It's not because she's figuring herself out. It's not because she doesn't know what she wants. That's the lie we tell ourselves when we don't want to face the real answer. The real answer stings a little. The real answer, it's control. Plain and simple. This is how women test men. This is how they find out who you really are. Not when things are easy, not when the conversation is flowing, not when the connection is sweet and simple. They test you when things get uncertain. They test you when they pull away. They test you when they go silent. And they watch. They watch to see if you chase. They watch to see if you panic. They watch to see if you fold, because here's the part nobody tells you. A man who chases emotions is a man she can never fully trust. If your peace is fragile, if your confidence is only stable when she's pouring attention into you, if your sense of self shatters the moment she goes quiet, you've already failed the test. Not because you're a bad person, not because you're unworthy, but because you've shown her the one thing she never wants to see in a man: neediness, emotional dependence, softness where there should be steel. See, women are intuitive creatures. They'll pull away just to see what you do. And most men fall right into the trap. They blow up her phone. They send long emotional texts. They check her story, her posts, her last scene. They drown themselves in anxiety, trying to get a hit of validation like a junkie needing his fix. But the man who passes the test, he does something different. He stays still. He stays calm. He lets her pull back. And he doesn't move an inch, not because he's playing games, not because he's trying to win, but because he's already won. He's mastered himself. See, a man who knows who he is, a man who's grounded in purpose, doesn't react to emotional bait. He doesn't abandon his mission for breadcrumbs of attention. He understands one of life's simplest truths: respect is earned in absence, not in chasing, not in begging, not in reacting, but in stillness. Brother, I know this isn't easy. I know what it feels like to stare at your phone, to check if she's online, to read the last message over and over again like it holds some hidden clue, to sit there wondering, what did I do wrong? But let me tell you what's really wrong. What's wrong is thinking your peace belongs to anyone but you. What's wrong is giving another human being the remote control to your emotions. What's wrong is forgetting that you were a whole man long before she came into your life, and you'll be a whole man long after she's gone. So here's what you do. When she pulls back, you pull back further, Not because you're bitter, not because you're angry, but because you respect yourself too much to play a game that weak men play. Let her wonder, let her miss you, let her sit in the silence she created. And you? You get to work, on yourself, on your mission, on your peace. You become so focused on your growth that her games feel small, because they are small. A man of discipline has no time for emotional tug-of-war. A man on a mission isn't sitting around hoping for a text. He's building a life so powerful, so magnetic, that the right woman doesn't pull away. She stays. And if she doesn't, he lets her go, without anger, without drama, without breaking his frame, because his frame isn't built on her attention, it's built on something far stronger, his values, his discipline, his purpose. Remember this, hot and cold. Behavior isn't confusion, it's control, and the man who controls himself answers to no one. Stay sharp, brother. Stay grounded. Stay dangerous in your calm, because that's the man no one forgets. That's the man who walks away. With dignity, that's the man who wins. It's one of the oldest traps a man can fall into. She pulls back, and your mind starts racing. You feel it in your chest. That tightening, that itch, that restless energy. Did I do something wrong? Should I text her? Maybe. I should show her I care, remind her I'm still here. Brother, that's how it starts. That's how you give your power away. One message at a time, one little reach, one little check-in. All because you couldn't sit in the silence. All because you let her emotions pull you off center. See, most men, they've never been taught this. Nobody tells you that the real test isn't how you act when she's warm and close and sweet. The real test is how you act when she pulls away, when she's cold, when she's distant, when the attention dries up. Most men, and they break, they chase, they panic, they overthink, and the worst part is, they think they're doing the right thing. They think that proving they care is what a good man does. That's what a weak man does, a strong man, a stoic man. He understands the deeper truth. Attention is not love, reaction is not respect, emotion is not commitment. She can flood your phone with messages today and ghost you tomorrow. That's the world we live in. It's not cruel, it's not evil, it just is. And a man who survives this world intact, a man who earns respect from himself first, understands one thing. Indifference is power, not bitterness, not hatred, not revenge, just pure, calm, unshakable indifference. You let her blow hot, you let her go cold, and you don't move, not because you're playing some childish game, not because you're trying to win, but because you know who the hell you are. You're not here to be chosen, you're here to choose. Let me say that again. You're not here to be chosen, you're here to choose. A woman pulling away isn't your cue to prove yourself, it's your cue to check yourself. Where's your focus? Where's your energy? Where's your discipline? If your peace is fragile, if your self-worth lives and dies on whether she texts you back, you've lost before the conversation even started. A stoic man operates from principle, not emotion. Action, not reaction. So here's what you do. When she pulls back, you pull back further. Not to punish her, not to make her wonder, not to play mind games, but because you refuse to fight for a place at a table where you belong naturally. You don't negotiate self-respect, you don't chase validation, and you sure as hell don't beg for crumbs of attention from a woman who's too busy playing emotional chess. Your silence is clarity, your stillness is control. Your absence speaks louder than 1,000 words ever could, because a real man knows if you have to convince someone to see your value, they're already blind to it. Let them go, let them drift, let them feel what life looks like without your presence in it. And you stay locked in, focused, disciplined, unbothered. You build, you sharpen, you grow, not for her, not for revenge, not for some Instagram quote, but for you. Because you are the mission. Your peace is your priority. your frame, is your fortress, and any woman who deserves a place in your life won't need to be chased. She'll respect the man who respects himself. She'll value the man who values his time. And if she doesn't, that's her loss. That's her lesson, not yours. So remember this, brother. Indifference is power. Silence is clarity. Stillness is strength. When she pulls back, you pull back further, not out of pettiness, out of principle, because you were never here to be chosen. You were here to choose, and that's the difference between a boy chasing approval and a man building his kingdom. Stay calm, stay sharp, stay dangerous in your peace. That's how real men move. That's how kings are built. Number 2, she mirrors you because you lead emotionally. It always starts small. You post a story, an old picture, a quote, something subtle, something just real enough to maybe catch her eye. A couple hours later, she posts something eerily similar, something with the same energy, something that makes you pause and think, was that for me? And brother, it probably was. Let's not kid ourselves here. People mirror who they're emotionally tied to. That's not romantic. That's not destiny. That's psychology. Human nature. We mimic what matters to us. We respond to what still stirs something deep inside. So yeah, when you go silent and she suddenly pops up, when you start posting like you're unbothered and she starts doing the same, that's not coincidence. That's tension, that's energy. It's the push and pull of two people who aren't done processing each other. Sounds flattering, right? Feels powerful for a second, but here's the danger. Here's where most men screw this up. They start watching her more than they watch themselves. They start focusing on her moves instead of staying locked into their mission. That's when the slide happens. It's slow, subtle, almost invisible. You tell yourself you're not checking her page, but you do. You tell yourself her posts don't matter, but they hit you right in the gut. Every quote she shares feels like a message. Every song she posts feels like a memory. And before you know it, she's leading you without even being in the room, without saying a word, without lifting a finger. That's what happens when a man loses control of his focus. He starts living in her world instead of building his own. And brother, that's not where power lives. That's where weakness lives. That's where overthinking lives. That's where regret starts to eat at you like rust on metal. A man off mission is already lost. Because the second you start playing that mirror game back, the second you start trying to get a reaction from her, you've already told the universe and yourself that she's more important than your purpose, that her attention is your fuel, that her validation is your prize. And trust me, she'll feel that. Women can smell it a mile away. That energy, that quiet desperation, and nothing kills respect faster but a man locked in. A man moving without hesitation, without performance, without waiting for anyone to notice. That man becomes unforgettable. That man lives in a way no story, no song, no cryptic quote could ever capture. Because he's not playing the emotional chess game. He's building an empire. He's chasing discipline, peace, growth, purpose, not attention, not reaction, not games. See, the Stoic response is brutally simple. You live like nobody's watching, because that's when people start watching. You move like your life depends on your mission, because in a way, it does. You lead emotionally, you don't follow, you don't mirror, you don't react. You stay in your frame, unshakable, focused, untouchable. If she mirrors you, fine, that's not your concern. If she posts right after you, cool, doesn't change your path, doesn't slow your work, doesn't pull your focus. You keep building, because the minute you start noticing it too much, the minute you start needing her to notice you, you've already surrendered your power, and you didn't come this far just to hand your piece over to someone else's story. Remember this, brother. Real men don't play mirror games. Real Men build mirrors so clean, so clear, so brutally honest, that anyone looking in sees exactly what they're missing, and they either rise to meet it, or they watch from a distance. But either way, you stay on mission, you stay dangerous in your calm, because that's what a man does, that's what a leader does. Stay sharp, stay locked in, and never, never let anyone lead you off your path, not even her. It happens quiet, not in the loud, messy moments, not in the arguments, not in the goodbye, not in the heartbreak. It happens later, when the dust has settled, when the room is empty, when the phone is silent, when life feels too still. That's when it creeps. In that voice, that urge, that old pull to look back, you start checking, not because you care, right? Not because you miss her. Just curious. Just want to see what she's up to. Just want to know if maybe, just maybe, she's thinking about you too. So you watch. You notice the small things. You post something subtle. And sure enough, she posts right after. You go quiet. And somehow, she shows up again. A song, a quote, a picture from an old memory. It hits you in the gut. Feels like a sign. Feels like proof she's still tied to you somehow. And maybe she is. But here's where most men lose the battle. They start living for that reaction. They start moving not for themselves, but for the echo. They post what they hope she'll see. They act in ways designed to get a response, and without even realizing it, they step off their path. Without even noticing, they leave their mission behind. That's the slow death of masculine energy, because the second you start moving for someone else's attention, you've forgotten who you are. You've traded leadership for performance, discipline for emotion, power for reaction. A man was never built to live that way, not a real man. See, a true leader never looks back to see who's following. He moves with purpose, with clarity, with calm, because he's not here to chase attention. He's not here to get noticed. He's here to build, to lead, to become. You post because it's true to you, not because you want her to see it. You go silent because it's discipline, not because you want her to miss you. You move how you move, because that's who you are now, because that's the standard you hold yourself. To anything less is weakness, anything less is noise, and noise is the enemy of a man's peace. Brother, understand this. If she's watching, let her watch. Let her see a man so locked in, so steady, so focused, so damn grounded, that it doesn't matter what she posts, it doesn't matter what game she plays, it doesn't matter how loud or quiet she gets. Your life is not about her anymore. It's about you, your growth, your mission, your discipline. You don't lead for her approval. You lead because that's what men do. Because leadership is lonely. Because discipline is rare. Because clarity is expensive. And only a few men ever earn it. So what's the Stoic response? Simple. Stay focused. Post if you want, stay silent if you want, but never, and I mean never, adjust your behavior to stir her reaction. That's weakness, that's noise, that's living off center. Instead, live in a way that even if she's watching, even if she's checking your page every night, even if she's studying every word you say, she's watching a man she can't touch. Not because you're bitter, not because you're cold, but because you've outgrown the game entirely, because you're moving in a world she no longer controls. Remember this. A true leader doesn't leave breadcrumbs. He leaves a legacy. He doesn't perform for attention. He builds with intention. And when people look back at him, when they watch from a distance, all they'll see is a man who never needed to look back. Stay sharp, stay still, stay on mission. She can watch, but you keep walking. Number 3, she mentions you indirectly. Because she's not done processing you. It's a common trap, a quiet one. Doesn't hit you like the breakup. Doesn't hit you like the last fight. Doesn't hit you like that gut-wrenching moment. When she walked out the door, no. This one sneaks in later. It shows up on your phone, your feed, your inbox. Subtle. An old inside joke posted to her story. A song you both used to love. A quote about healing. Loss, love, something that sounds just a little too familiar. Maybe a friend hits you up. Hey bro, she mentioned you last night. It catches you, right there, in that vulnerable place you thought was healing. And for a second, you believe the lie. You tell yourself maybe this means something. Maybe she's still thinking about me. Maybe this is a sign. Maybe I should reach out. Brother. That's the moment weak men lose the war, not because she's evil, not because she's playing some calculated game, but because women, most women, process emotions out loud. They heal by expressing, they process by sharing, they uncope by speaking what's still spinning in their mind. So yeah, if she's mentioning you indirectly, she's not done processing you mentally. But that doesn't mean you should do anything. It doesn't mean you should break your silence. Doesn't mean you should rush in to fix, to save, to comfort. In fact, that urge to reach out, that's not strength. That's weakness disguised as caring. Let me say that again, so it cuts deep. Chasing clarity is not masculine strength. It's emotional dependence. It's needing answers because you haven't built enough inner stillness to live without them. And trust me, I get it. I've been there. I've sat with that burning feeling in my chest, wanting to respond, wanting to say something, wanting to leave a comment, wanting to let her know. Hey, I saw that. But what I learned, what every man who becomes untouchable learns, is that taking the bait never ends well. Because if she wanted you back, really wanted you, there would be no need for puzzles and clues. Women don't hide love. They hide confusion. They hide boredom. They hide loneliness. They hide regret. But love moves direct. Love knocks on your door without games. So when she starts dropping breadcrumbs online, when she starts testing the water with indirect posts or jokes, that's not your signal to dive in. That's your signal to go deeper into yourself. That's your cue to double down on your silence, on your focus, on your mission. Because here's what most men forget. Silence is louder than words. Absence builds more tension than any comment ever could. Distance creates mystery, and what's rare becomes valuable. See, the man who doesn't react, the man who doesn't take the bait, the man who stays locked in his world, that's the man who earns respect. That's the man who owns his peace. That's the man women remember. Not the one blowing up her DMs the second she posts a quote. Not the one begging for closure. Not the one trying to decode her every move. That man looks desperate. That man looks lost. That man has no center, but a stoic man. He moves slow, he moves quiet, he moves only when he decides to move, not because she pulled a string, not because she sent a signal, not because she posted a song you used to dance to, because he controls his life, he controls his energy, and he controls his response. So if she's talking about you, let her talk, let her process, let her sit in the absence you've created, because if there's anything left there, anything real, she'll reach out for it like a woman should. Direct, clear, certain. Until then, stay on. Mission. Stay building, stay unbothered. Because real men don't chase breadcrumbs. Real men don't respond to echoes of the past. Real men build a future so powerful, so disciplined, so alive that they leave no doubt about who's in control. Brother, remember this, a woman mentioning you indirectly isn't a call to action. It's a test of your emotional strength. Pass the test, stay silent, stay sharp, stay on your path. Because the man who can sit in silence without breaking, that's the man she never forgets. That's the man the world can't shake. That's the man you're here to become. There's a mistake almost every man makes when he's hurting, especially after a breakup, especially when she starts sending mixed signals, especially when the loneliness creeps in. It happens in those quiet moments when you're scrolling through your phone, when you see her post that quote, when you hear that old song, when a mutual friend says she mentioned you the other day, and for a second, a dangerous second, you forget yourself. You forget who you are. You start to believe the lie your heart wants to hear. Maybe she misses me. Maybe she's hurting too. Maybe I should reach out, just to check in, just to remind her I care. Brother, stop. Let me tell you a truth no one told me when I needed it most. If she's dropping breadcrumbs, if she's sending mixed signals, if she's throwing little emotional bait out into the world, that is her process, not your invitation, not your mission, not your responsibility. See, women process emotion by expressing it. They speak, they post, they hint. It doesn't always mean they want you back. It doesn't always mean they're ready for you, and it sure as hell doesn't mean you should break your frame and go chasing ghosts. But this is where weak men crumble. This is where the average man loses himself. He takes the bait, he texts, he calls, he responds to the story, he reaches out just to clear the air or be nice or check in. And just like that, he trades power for attention, he trades discipline for emotion, he trades respect for reaction. Brother, hear me. A man on his path is not a man distracted by breadcrumbs. Your energy is too expensive for cheap attention. Your peace is too valuable for half-hearted signals. Your life is too damn important to be living in the shadow of someone else's. Confusion. The Stoic response, let her sit with that discomfort, let her wonder, let her miss you, let her sit in the silence she created, because that silence is not empty, that silence is heavy. That silence says everything without saying a word. It says, I am not here to chase, I am not here to perform, I am not here to make you comfortable with losing me. Let your absence haunt her, not because you're cruel, not because you want revenge, but because you respect yourself enough to walk away from anything that doesn't move with clarity, anything that doesn't stand in truth. You're not here for maybe. You're not here for someday. You're not here for breadcrumbs. You are here to build. You are here to lead. You are here to become the man who doesn't flinch when the past tries to tap him on the shoulder. Let me tell you something about real power. Real power is quiet. Real power is stillness. Real power is restraint. It's easy to react. Anybody can send a text. Anybody can chase a feeling. Anybody can move out of fear. But a man who can sit in silence, a man who can let her feel the weight of losing him without reaching back for cheap comfort, that man is rare, that man is dangerous, that man is unforgettable. And I'll tell you why. Because while other men are chasing closure, he's chasing mastery. While other men are losing sleep over stories and songs, he's stacking discipline. While other men are hoping to be noticed, he's building a life that demands respect without ever asking for it. That's the way, brother. That's the path. You don't need to clear the air. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to respond. Let her sit in the space you left behind. Let your absence speak. Because if she's meant for your life, she'll come correct. She'll move direct. She'll bring clarity. She'll show up real. Until then, stay locked in, stay focused, stay silent. Because the man who stays silent in a world desperate for reaction, that man controls everything. Remember this, your energy is too expensive for cheap attention. Your peace is non-negotiable. Your path is sacred. Let her sit with that discomfort. Let your absence do what words never could, and keep walking like a man who needs nothing but the mission in front of him, because that's exactly who you are. Listen closely, brother, because this is where most men stay stuck. Waiting, watching, wondering if she's thinking about them, checking stories, checking posts, checking signs. But a man, a real man, does not measure his worth in someone else's thoughts. He doesn't anchor his peace to a memory. He doesn't need to be remembered, to feel valuable. He rebuilds quietly, patiently, relentlessly, because at some point, On this path, you stop asking if she's thinking about you. It stops mattering, not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but because you've stepped into a life that's too full, too sharp, too disciplined to look back. A man who rebuilds himself from the ground up, brick by brick, habit by habit, standard by standard. He doesn't need closure. He doesn't need attention. He doesn't need the past to applaud him, because his life is the proof, his peace is the reward, his presence is the answer. That's the man you are becoming. A man who doesn't flinch, a man who doesn't chase, a man who doesn't break. Remember this. Let the past think whatever it wants. Let them wonder. Let them sit with the silence you leave behind, because you're not here to be remembered. You're here to be rebuilt by your own hands, on your own terms, for your own damn life. If you feel that in your soul, drop this in the comments. I rebuild in silence. Let me know you're not here to chase shadows. Let me know you're here to build something real. And send this to a brother who needs to remember who the hell he is. We don't chase, we don't beg, we don't react, we rebuild.